All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And again, I'm going through a series of ebooks that have been created by Mr. Flavio Copes. And I'm just starting basically. So I'm in the HTML ebook that he has. And that book has in it 87 pages, and I'm on page 38. Now we're going to start talking about some of the newer tags. One of the reasons that HTML5 has come to prominence is the fact that it's added a bunch of semantic tags. So again, much of this is being driven by accessibility concerns, and the idea is that the system can tell article, section, etc. And there's other ones too. There's now a header tag, not head, which we went over already, but header, which typically goes at the top of the document, footer, which typically goes at the bottom of the document. All right, there's even a main tag that a lot of people, everything that goes in the document that's not in the header and it's not in the footer, they may put in a main tag. All right, you can have articles which can have sections in them, or sections which can have articles in them. All right, so this is his take on it. It says the article tag identifies a thing that can be independent from other things on a page. For example, a list of blog posts on a home page. All right, so in this case, they're taking each blog post and making it into its own article. All right, and it can be anything. The section, as it says, represents a section of a document. All right, and when you kind of think of it, in terms of like the old newspaper days, all right, many of you watching this may be actually too young to even remember a newspaper, or maybe you've ever even known a newspaper. But, you know, when I was a kid, I would get the Milwaukee Journal at night, and we had a Milwaukee Sentinel during the day. They've now merged, and there's one paper. But the point is, there was like a front page or a front section that had your main news in it. There was a sports section, there was a comics section, etc. And each one of those sections had articles in them. That's typically the way that it's set up today, too. All right. Div we've talked about already, so I'm not going to be going over that anymore. All right. The nav tag, nav is short for navigation. All right. And typically the nav tag is used for something that you'd see, for example, let's see, like, oh, maybe this at the top of the page. So you're able to peruse your way around. This isn't a great example, but it's one. And we've created these before as well. An aside, typically an aside is something that's known as being tangential to a document. What do I mean by that? Well, for example, what you could end up having, maybe you've seen this already. You know, again, if you've ever looked at a newspaper or any kind of an online text. For example, let's look. All right. And I still get, even though I live in Missouri, I still get the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. So there's my online version of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel right here. Whoops, I spelled it wrong. There it is. All right. So we've got this here. CDC says vaccinated students don't need masks. Now let's say that if you had this, that over here we had an article about some student that didn't have a mask and then wish they would have had one, as an example. That would be an example of something that's tangential. In other words, it's not really necessary for this article here. You know, maybe you've seen this where there'll be something like 3 children saved in fire, something over here, and then over here there'll be another article on the side that says something along the lines of firemen. This is the 30th family that he saved over his career, for example. All right. So that's what they're talking about there when I say that something is tangential. That's an aside. as it says, using aside is a signal that the thing it contains are not part of the regular flow of the section it goes into. Header I've already mentioned. In fact, depending on how you want to set this up, quite often what people will have at the top of their website. In fact, let's try to go. Let's see if we've got one here. Yeah. So this would be like a tagline, let's say, and then this would be your nav section right here. All right. And when you put all those together, quite often you see all those together in the header section. Main I've already mentioned. Typically, everything that's not in the header, that's not in the footer, you put inside of main. Footer's at the bottom. You know, you might have who made the document, etc. There could be all sorts of stuff in there. All right. Forms. Most websites have, or many websites, if not most, have a form on them, right? Some kind of a form. All right. And as it says, it's a way that you can interact with a page. A form is used using the form tag. Now, typically you have more than just form right here. You've got something like this, method equals post. All right. And you set it to post if you're going to submit it. If there's something that's going to be submitted. If there's something that you're not submitting, but you're something that you want to acquire, it's rather than post, it's a get. All right. Now, what's the difference? Well, I've already told you one difference, but another difference is if you've got a form, maybe you've done this already. In fact, let me go out to Amazon. And if I come out here and I do a search in here, let's say that I search in books, and let's say that I'm searching for HTML. All right, you'll start to notice when you look in here, I've got Amazon.com, and then I've got a question mark and a bunch of other stuff. All right, this is a get. I'm not submitting anything. All right, I'm not submitting anything at all. All right, I'm just grabbing information. So K equals HTML, that's basically what I was looking for. All right, so the stuff that you see in here in this get return after the question mark is known as a query string. And it's the information that basically I'm looking for in there, for lack of better words. On the other hand, if you do fill out a form and it's got a submit button, you won't see typically the information up here. All right, because it'll be done with a post rather than a get. Get shows all the information. Everything is shown up here. So you wouldn't take stuff, for example, like something that had a password or credit card information. You wouldn't take that and you wouldn't put it up here in a get. It would be in a post. Now there's more to it than that, but again, I'm being fairly simplistic here, fairly general as well. Here's some of the inputs that you can put in here. So you can put an input box for a single line of text, a text area for multiple lines of text, select boxes, which give you a drop down, radio buttons, which allow you to just choose one option. There's check boxes, which allow you to choose 0 or more options, file uploads, and again, there's more. The input is the one that's used a lot. As it says, input is equivalent. I always do it this way. Type equal text. All right. You can put a placeholder attribute in there. And if I put this in, let's just grab this. Let's start making a simple little form here. All right, we've got this in here right now. So let's put a form. And I'm not going to worry about get or post or anything else. I'm just going to do this. All right, and we'll bring this in here where it says email. There. So it's a text, so it's single line. The name is username. And it should say in here, how about here? I'm just going to change this to email here. Or email goes here. All right. And I put that in here, bring that up here, and there it is. Email goes here. Notice as soon as I click in here and I start typing, whoops, I don't want it, well, that goes away. But when I remove that, I should turn the autocomplete off, but it's back again. All right, in fact, just to show you that, I'm going to put the autocomplete as off. I like to, quite often, I don't always do this, but quite often I'll do this, where I'll put each one of these attributes on its own line, just because it's that much easier to see then. So I'm going to put here autocomplete equal, I think it's off, but I might be wrong here. I don't think it's false, I think it's off there. So now I can start typing. You notice as soon as I start typing in here, J, how that goes away. I remove it and it comes back. All right, that's probably pretty obvious when you take a look at it. Email is one of the new HTML5 tags. So notice if I do bring this up and I put in something that's not an email address, so I'll put in hello. All right. Now, it did send it. I don't have a submit. There's nothing checking this. All right. But normally, and you'll probably see this as we go on in here, that'll fail because it's not a valid email address format. So I can come in here, put in a password. I'm just going to keep building out the form using the stuff that he's got in here. And again, I don't have to do it like this. You'll notice that when I put this in, let's put a line break in here. And one thing I don't have in here, they haven't shown them yet. All right, I'm going to get rid of the word email there. And I'm going to put in a couple labels, a label for each one of these. So label 4 equals username. And we'll just put in here email address. And let's change this too, because the better name would be email. Here and here. All right. And we also typically will put in an ID here equals email. And we'll come in here. This will type name, password, type password, ID equal password, placeholder will equal your password. That's fine. We'll put a label in there as well. Let's try to pretty this up just a little bit here. All right, that looks fine. This will have to change then to password and password. This will start looking a little bit nicer. There you go. Now I don't have any CSS in here, so the stuff doesn't line up. Don't worry about that. But notice for the password now when I start typing, if I type in hello, notice what appears. Numbers, we can have a number field in there. And we can even, let's do it this way, like they have it. We can put in a minimum and a maximum. Again, I'm just using his code here. But before we do this, let's put in another line break here. And let's add another label. And we'll put that in. I can type equal number, name equal age, ID equals age, placeholder equal your age. And notice we put in a minimum, which is 18, and we put in a maximum, which is 110. All right. And let's immediately put in a BR tag here so we don't have to go and worry about adding one in the future. So now we've got this. And you may or may not, let's see. I'm trying to put in something non-numeric there. And notice. And notice too, if I went and put in something that was a bad thing, so to speak. All right. a bad value, it would catch that. If you don't know what I mean, hopefully you will as we keep going on in here. So let's see. You can step. Yeah, that's fine. Hidden field. This is the example I typically give people for a hidden field. All right. If I go out, let's say, I'm not going to do this right now, but let's say that I went out to pizzahut.com and I wanted to order myself a pizza. All right. And they asked me what kind I wanted, and I put in there a veggie thin crust. All right. And they put all that stuff in there. And when they ask me that information, they're not going to ask me, hey, how much tax would you like to pay? All right. The stuff that's in there actually for the tax, that might be hidden because there's no reason to really show that information. All right. Now, it's actually still there. You just don't see it on the form itself. It's a hidden field. All right. You can set default values like this for most fields at least. So if you don't put one in, that'll be the default that's in there. You can do it like that. Many people will put a default value in even for like a placeholder. All right. So input type equals submit. Now we're getting somewhere. So notice what this looks like right now. This is our form. And when I go in and I add this, all right, input type equals submit. And we'll put in here also value equals submit. Notice that's got a big or a capital S on it. So there, that's what we've got. Okay. All right. Now, we haven't really done any validation in here. So we can start. It says setting fields as required. All right. So if we go back to each one of these fields that we have in here, and it's labels, it's not used for labels, but if I come into here and put in required for each one of these, now notice when I come back to here and I click submit, it comes back and it's giving me an error. It's telling me that I've got to fill out something for that field. All right. And let's turn off the autocomplete for all of these. Let's set it to off, just so you can see everything that I'm actually typing in here. So where we've got that autocomplete equal off up above, I'm going to grab that and put that in for all of them. Just because it makes it a little bit easier for you to read. So I think that's all of them. So notice now when I run this, why is it still doing that? Email address looks like the autocomplete is not set. Autocomplete equal off. It's off, it's off. They're off on all of them. Maybe it's false instead of off. I don't know. No. It is off. But it's not, it's still putting it in there. So let's do this. Let's put in a bad. So I'll put in hello. All right. So notice, please fill out this field. There's the required. So I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, please fill out this field because that's required. Let's try -9. Value must be greater than or equal to 18. So let's put in 111. Must be less than or equal to 110. All right. So if I put in 64, it takes it. But notice when I submit, it should have given me, I thought I said type equal email here. Maybe I did not. Oh, text. That should have been email here. And now notice that when I do this and I put in hello, and we'll fill the other ones up. So now I get an error for the email because this is type email. All right. And that's what they're showing in here. There's also file uploads. There's a lot of other types of things. I can say type equal button instead of type equal submit. There are advantages and disadvantages of doing that. All right, I'm going to just leave it the way it is. I'm going to add one more button after this one. I'm going to put in a couple blank spaces right here. We'll put in 3. All right, now I'm going to copy this. I don't need the blank spaces after it. And I'm going to put in here type equal reset. And value will also be reset with a big R. And that'll reset things back to their default value. So notice if I come in here and put in that, and I come in here and put in this, and I come in here and put in 33 and hit reset, everything goes back to its default values. Okay? All right. Taking a little longer than I thought it would, and we're at 22 minutes, so I'll come back and finish it up, hopefully in the next lecture.